Good morning, Bronzo. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frankie Olivo. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Joshua Moroles out of Hidalgo County. Good morning, Joshua.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about two very interesting topics. I'm not sure if I have audio on your end or my end. One second. I apologize. Let me see. Technology. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about two very interesting items. I'm getting the feedback off of your.
Is it my side?
I believe so.
Let me see. How about there?
Hello, hello, hello. Good. Thank you. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Joshua Moroles out of Hidalgo County. And we invited Joshua on. Again, I apologize, Joshua. We were supposed to bring you on back in May, but we got tied up with a whole BISD scandal, the teacher-student relationship. And then I said, Josh, give me a few days. I need to cover this story. You said, no problem. But man,
2 months later.
we're 2 months, 2 months after the fact. I do apologize, but it seems as if, and I'm sure you can attest to this, once you start on a story, it just unravels and it opens up a can of worms. But nonetheless, today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about two very important issues. One being a documentary about the Queen Isabella Causeway that Joshua and his team will be having a viewing for in the very near future. And also, we want to talk about contamination water. So good morning, Joshua. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I can't complain.
And for those that aren't familiar with Joshua, used to come on live with Erasmo Castro. They connected during COVID, and again, during COVID was a time where there was a lot of uncertainty. So it was nice to have someone in the Upper Valley in Hidalgo County to give us a little insight into what's going on. And we encourage Cameron County, people from South Padre who are watching us today, to follow Joshua Moroles on his social media platforms. An individual who focuses on digital marketing, but again, and I'm not just blowing smoke just because you're here, but a very talented individual that you'll see firsthand of what I'm talking about.
For sure.
How's your day going, Joshua? How is Hidalgo County treating you as of late?
It's great, man. I start every morning with a cup of coffee and more research because, like you said, it keeps on unraveling. And the great thing about the water issues here in the Rio Grande Valley is like they don't go away. They keep coming back, and there's more stuff. So I've been focused on finding the consumer confidence reports for every single city across the Rio Grande Valley and kind of showing people what's in their water. Because if you think about it, a lot of people don't even know what a consumer confidence report is, which is your water report that you get every year. And the problem with that is you get it 12 to 18 months later. So if your water's contaminated today, you won't find out till somewhere 2026. And on top of that, you don't even know what you're reading in the consumer confidence reports because there's all these chemicals and toxins that are at legal levels. But I mean, who wants to drink chemicals at any level in your drinking water or your tap water that the government or the city says that is safe to drink? I mean, yeah.
And it's interesting, Joshua, because many people have reached out to me and said, hey, do you follow this guy? Do you know this guy? Look what he's talking about. You did, bring up the issue of the water in the city of Brownsville, in particular, the military highway supply that found, according to their report, Joshua, found fecal matter. And then how we talked about, it just unravels. You started going into Hidalgo County, and we saw how, hey, this is an issue that it seems as if it's a valley issue. It's not just the city of Brownsville issue.
For sure, yeah. It's kind of gross because you think about these things, you're paying for your tap water every single month, and you've paid it. If you're a homeowner, you've paid it over and over and over and over again every single month. So you assume that you're drinking clean water, right? I would assume anybody would think that the water that's coming out of your house should be clean, and that just simply is not the case.
And I did what I saw that you do, and the reason why people reached out to me and they said, "Hey, you need to follow this guy," and I said, "Yeah, I'm familiar with Joshua," and they said, "Yes, but what you need to do, you need to test the water because it's a health hazard." Right. So what I did, Joshua, last week, I took 2 samples, one being from a bottled water and another being from the tap water. I used a digital TDS meter, and this is because it all started because a concerned citizen reached out to me and said, "Hey, I think there's an issue with my water. I tested it. I want you to do your own test just so you won't think that I'm lying." And sure enough, and I went out live and I said, "Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get water from the tap and I have a bottled water. And we're going to do this test live just so there won't be no funny business." And sure enough, we have reads of, and the way the TDS meter works, if I could get it very quickly.
Sure.
And you're familiar with it, Joshua. At a certain mark, it reads, after a certain mark, it says that the water isn't safe, that it's contaminated. Mm-hmm. And we got reads, Joshua, of the water being over 500, meaning that, hey, you shouldn't be drinking this water.
Right.
And it's not just me. And people say, "You know what, Frankie, you're being petty. You're manipulating the read, the test." But no, but I received complaints, concerns from other citizens that they themselves did their own research with their own meter. And they said, "Hey, man, what we're drinking is what we're consuming is not healthy. It's not safe."
Right. Yeah, and I think that what people really need to understand is that like one glass of water isn't going to kill you. But the problem with that is that it's bioaccumulation that happens years and years. You drink this stuff every day. You're making your sopitas, you're making your soups, you're boiling your pasta, you're cooking your food, you're making your teas, lemonades, all that stuff. So day after day, those chemicals are building up in your system over and over and over again. So you're already exposed to the environment here in the Rio Grande Valley. And the way the scientist Jim White explained it to me is that over all these years you're consuming this water, your body's building up this stuff with bioaccumulation. So one day when your body gets too weak or you get too old, that chemical gets released into your body that can become cancerous. So this is the problem that we're talking about here. This is not so much like, yeah, we got yellow water or we have fecal matter and it's safe to drink. The problem is it's bioaccumulating in your body over and over and over again throughout the years for the rest of your life.
So apparently this isn't just a Brownsville issue. Apparently it seems as if it is a RGV issue. And the thing that and you talked about it earlier, Joshua, the thing that kind of trips me out is that essentially we're being charged for purification. At least that's my understanding. We get a bill from our local utility board that provides us a service. We expect that we are receiving clean water, and it's you talked about it. We fill in our ice cube tray mm-hmm. with that water. We make the sopas. People make coffee with that water. What I learned, and again, this is an issue. This isn't an issue that is just happening right now. We can trace this back 10 years, where the city of Brownsville, the San Pedro western part of Brownsville, has been having brown water. There have been residents that have stated that their clothes is ruined because they wash in dirty water. That their children have upset stomachs because of the water. They E. coli. They develop skin irritations. You made the correlation with is this possible? Is this a possibility, or is this a reason why there is a large increase of cancer patients here in the Rio Grande Valley? It just leads us to many questions.
For sure. Yeah, I think the what the documentary explores is the so March 27th. You're over there in Brownsville, so your Cameron County, Wilson counties got hit the hardest. Even over here in Hidalgo, March 27th, the floods happened. So I was in Houston at the time, but I was looking at everybody on Facebook, and it was pure panic. Like there was floods that ravaged Cameron County, especially over there in Green Valley Farms area in San Benito. And what happens is after these floods, it inundates the Arroyo Colorado, which is already highly contaminated. If you look at the Arroyo Colorado, which is a 90-mile stretch, it goes from Mission, Texas, all the way to Laguna Madre. It only flows because of municipal wastewater. So that means that all the way from Mission, all the way to Laguna Madre, it only flows by the wastewater that we are all pushing into it from the water municipalities, right? So all this wastewater is treated, and some of it's untreated. And there was a study I saw the other day that 2 million gallons of untreated wastewater get dumped in there every single day. So you're talking about a 90-mile stretch of water that goes from Mission all the way to Laguna Madre that's highly contaminated, that still has banned pesticides that are being used to this day. So every time it floods, it inundates that and it overflows, and it goes into 82,000 homes and 300 facilities across the Rio Grande Valley. Now, these chemicals are known to cause cancer. They're known to cause respiratory disease, illnesses, asthma. It's just nasty water that people end up getting into their homes. And when they disinfect their home, they get the water out. Well, some of that stuff turns into mold, and now they're breathing it in. So the problem with that is a lot of this Arroyo Colorado has forever chemicals. They're PFAS. These chemicals do not go away. And when they do break down, they break down into something that's equally as dangerous. So these things accumulate in your body. And the years and years of flooding here in the Rio Grande Valley, homes get flooded over and over and over again. So these chemicals are just building up in people's systems. And there is a correlation between the chemicals and toxins that are in the Arroyo Colorado, that are in the ground, that pose a concern for cancer. We have high rates of cancer here in the Rio Grande Valley. Some rare cancers that are even found anywhere else in the United States.
What would be the solution? Because everybody says, oh well, the easy fix is to buy a water softener to cleanse your water. And fortunately, I'm familiar with this because I grew up with my grandfather, and my grandpa was always, or he still is, very ahead of his time. He was one of the first ones to get a cell phone. He was one of the first ones to get a computer. All my friends wanted to go to my house because I was the first one to have. Remember when the cool thing was to burn CDs to make music?
Yeah.
My grandpa was the one that would make DVDs and stuff, not for sale, but just for work purposes. My grandfather at his home here on Alton-Glore, northern part of Brownsville, he purchased that home back in the mid to late 90s when Brownsville was growing up north. And he was the one that introduced me to the water softener. Its purpose is to clean the water, essentially.
Yeah, the calcium and stuff like that.
It kills, because he said, we can't trust the utility company. He's like, yeah, they say that they clean it, that they cleanse it and stuff like that, but it doesn't really help. What other options do we have that we can, not prevent cancer, because it seems as if it's inevitable, but how we can live a healthier lifestyle?
Sure. So water softeners don't necessarily clean all the water. You need like a reverse osmosis system in your filtration system in your home. But the problem with that is it gets rid of all the good stuff in there too. So you need some minerals in there to be able to like have decent water. And there's some filtration systems that are like alkaline. So you're supposed to drink alkaline water. That way it reintroduces some of the minerals in the water to make it healthy, right? The problem with this is these systems are expensive. You're talking about maybe a $6,000 to $10,000 filtration system. The Rio Grande Valley is not equipped. A lot of people can't afford that. So the next best thing is your bottled waters, alkaline waters that you can get HEB. That's going to be the quickest fix. I found the other day when I did a water test at a family's house in San Juan, they bought a filtration system on Amazon that was like $250, and that got rid of a lot of the stuff that was in the water. So that's the quickest fix. The long-term goal here is to fix the contaminated waters in the Rio Grande Valley, which is the Arroyo Colorado, the Rio Grande River, and then all the tap water. But that's going to cost billions of dollars, and that's a 10 to 20-year project. And honestly, I'm losing faith every single day that any of this is really going to happen. So that's why I preach now is like, hey, take care of your health, drink good water, eat good food, take care of yourself, because I honestly do think that nobody's coming to help us. Like, this is too far of a problem that's been going on since the 90s. Since we are a highly agricultural area in the Rio Grande Valley, you're going to have to take care of yourself. Like, no one's coming. Like, these reports are going to be coming out every single year that says the water is safe to drink, when in fact you can just look at the consumer confidence report and see the chemicals and toxins that are in there. And even the problem with that is that the chemicals that they use to disinfect the water are also known and to cause cancer. So it's like, what do? You're paying for crap water that is good for flushing down your toilets. I mean, I don't know what other way to say it, but the problem I have is when the city says that your water is safe to consume or safe to drink, when you can in fact just see the chemicals that are in there, and they're tied to these things that can cause problems in your health.
And that's something that we've been getting a lot of flack, because we try our best, Joshua, to to provide the community with information that we feel is relevant, that's important to us here in the city of Brownsville, South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley. And fortunately, we have gotten the attention of PUB, our utility board that provides these services. Mm-hmm. And they have been commenting and saying, oh no, they did release a report. They did come out on our local Herald and stated, you know what, the water is safe. There's no need to be worried. And then, we did that test. And before that, Joshua, when I was talking about, there's poop in the water and the fecal matter and all these chemicals, bacteria, they said, no, they're pretty much trying to discredit our report and say, no, this, don't listen to this guy. And look, I appreciate that we have government entities viewing, watching, listening to our program, and they actually commented on the show, on the program. And what I did, Joshua, I always start the show, usually I always start the show with a video, a quick 1 minute, 2 minute video, just to give our viewers a little insight, a little synopsis, if you may, into what the episode on that particular day is about.
Sure.
Well, I shared a video from the city of Brownsville back 5 or 10 years ago. I did it with a purpose, because I want to show that this is an issue, Joshua, that hasn't been fixed. The problem that we're dealing with back in 2014, a decade ago, we are still facing it today. And they criticized me and they said, well, hey, why are you using outdated information? And I said, well, because I did it for a reason. Again, there's reason behind my madness, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why we do that is because we want to show a pattern. We didn't fix the issue back in 2014, 2015. We're still seeing the effects. We're still seeing the same issues being plagued. And now it's not just Western Brownsville. Now it's throughout other parts of the city of Brownsville. So that was interesting to learn that they said, no, your reporting is wrong. That video is wrong.
The problem there is it's an infrastructure issue. That we have outdated infrastructure that is not equipped to handle flooding events. It's not handled. Like, you cannot handle the amount of water that's going to be, like, for example, March 27th, like that same flooding, Harlingen dumped like 63,000 gallons of partially treated wastewater into that Arroyo Colorado because you simply could not get it anywhere else. And the problem with that too is when it flooded, a lot of houses and areas that didn't flood before started flooding because the cities were scrambling to find, let's push this water to the next place, let's push it to the next place, and it's pushing it into people's neighborhoods that had never flooded before. So this is going to be a continuous issue until the infrastructure gets fixed. So you're talking about 10 years ago, it's going to continue to happen. Like if you see the consumer confidence report next year, there's going to be chemicals in there as well. Like you can't get away from this thing because the infrastructure in the entire Rio Grande Valley is compromised. It's old. And the first line of that shows you that is that it's the E. coli, the coliform bacteria. That's the early warning sign that shows that these systems are compromised.
That's scary. That's scary that this hasn't been talked about. And like any issue, every government entity, they want it to go away. But what bothers me is, again, we're paying for a service that we think we're getting the best results. And at the end of the day, my big argument, Joshua, is competition. If we look at South Padre, in terms of their electrical companies, man, there's competition out there. You have 3 or 4 different companies that are that provide competitive rates. Why? Because there's competition. Unfortunately for the city of Brownsville, they have monopolized the utility that we receive. So it's not like if we can go to another competitor. What options would you say? You did state, tap water. Do you think that they're gonna have to go out for a bond? Because we're talking about, if they work on the infrastructure, you're talking about hundreds of, possibly millions, if not billions of dollars. What options do we have?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, but the problem is it's going to be very expensive. Like if it's not done now and it's in the billions, just imagine if we wait 5 years, and then with inflation, it's going to be even more. So I think something has to be done immediately and now. And I've been talking to grant writers because I work for a nonprofit. And all of the grant writers that I've ever talked to say that the Rio Grande Valley gets a ton of grants because we're in an underserved area. So the reason why we get a lot of grants is because the entire Rio Grande Valley has, like, if you think about this, there's 155,000 people that live in colonias in Hidalgo County alone. So there's a huge problem. There's a huge population of the Rio Grande Valley that lives in colonias that can't access clean water. They don't have nice homes. They don't have good infrastructure. So this is a problem throughout the Rio Grande Valley, and the valley is synonymous for each city not wanting to work together. So, for example, Edinburgh, I was looking at the consumer confidence report, and they have like very low levels of arsenic. I think like 0.02. Well, we want to know how they did that. That way we can duplicate that in McAllen, in Farr, in Wessico, across in Brownsville, in Harlingen. Like the cities are synonymous for not wanting to work together. And that has to change. That conversation has to change, and it changes with the politicians that are in each city, because they have valuable information that can save a lot of lives. Did that answer your question?
Yes, yes, and yes, it did. And again, for those that are just jumping on, Joshua has been covering cities throughout the Rio Grande Valley. He did start with Brownsville. He did post the 2024 annual report that did find fecal matter. But the scary thing is, it's not just Brownsville. He provided us information with Alamo, Donna, and you said previously that you had a family member that you tested that that was having at one time issues. Yep. Minerva Simpson here from Harlingen is saying, it's not only in Colonia, in Harlingen, Texas, it's not only in colonias. I've been annexed for over 14 years, and the city still won't provide water or sewer. Yes, I pay city taxes.
Yeah, that's a huge problem because like with Green Valley Farms in San Benito, it's technically not in the city, but it is in the city. But the problem with that is that a lot of these cities, once they bring on Green Valley Farms or an area that's out of the city limits, now that they're responsible for them. So it's easier just to like you all stay over there. You're not part of the city, but technically you're part of the city because you have an address that's part of the city. So it's a very strange thing that's happening. But once a city decides that, yes, we're going to claim this area, well, now they're responsible for it. And if it's an area that floods continuously over and over and over again, then they have to deal with those problems.
I'm going to say something, Joshua, and I might get in trouble for this. The city of Brownsville only services within city limits. Those individuals that live on the outskirts, when we talk about the western part of Brownsville that has been having issues for the past decade or so, is serviced by the military highway water supply company.
Mm-hmm.
The individuals closer to SpaceX, closer to the airport, I would say that's east part of Brownsville, they're being serviced by El Jardín Water Supply. The interesting thing about these companies, ladies and gentlemen, is that they get their water supply from PUB. So essentially, it's the same water that is being distributed throughout the city of Brownsville. One would think, oh, different companies, you're going to get a different type of quality of the product. What I learned is that no, what they essentially is they buy, a certain amount of, gallons or what have you, and all they do is they just transfer it over to their residents. So essentially, what's happening in Brownsville is ultimately affecting everyone, whether they live within the city or outside of city limits.
For sure, you're right, because even the North Alamo water supply, the one I posted about this morning, their water supplies goes all the way to Raymondville, San Juan, Edinburgh, Donna, Harlingen, Monte Alto, Ed Couch-Elsa. So you're talking about like these huge areas that these water companies they service. And the problem with that is there was a guy from Brownsville. I don't know if you know him, Captain Bob. He goes by
yes, of course.
So I put out a report and it was talking about the Brownsville water, how there's fecal matter. So he went to his fridge and got some water and tasted it and is like, this is great water without doing a test. Like that to me is mind-boggling because yes, fine, you have a filter in your refrigerator. Fine, yes, your water probably is good, but you're not seeing them get it from the tap water. Like that to me is like the dumbest thing in the world because these people that are credible in the community are saying that their water is safe. He's getting it from a filtered refrigerator. Get it from the tap water because I guarantee you're not going to want to drink that crap, like literally crap in the water.
Yeah, yeah, and the good thing about Captain Bob, and we appreciate individuals that are out in the community, provide information. And Captain Bob is one of those individuals that, as of late, he has been bringing up important issues that are pertinent to the citizens of Brownsville. He has been talking about a lot of pollution, a lot of debris, a lot of trash that is out there. And I did see him post that video.
Well, the problem with that too is like if there's a lot of pollution, trash that's in the waterway, where do you think the city or the water municipalities get their water from? It's from groundwater systems. It's from area where that's sitting surface level water, and then they have to filter that stuff. So you would think that if there's pollution, all this stuff that's there, that groundwater has to be collected from groundwater or surface water, because that's where water systems get their water from to be able to give it back to the community. This is probably in some way contaminated in one way or the other. So it wasn't a jab at well, I guess it was kind of a jab at Captain Bob, because I kind of felt like he kind of did that to spite me, but without even knowing me too. But I think people that do that, they're doing a disservice to their community members, because if somebody sees that and they say, oh, well, Captain Bob says it's safe to drink, when in fact you can just look at the consumer confidence report and see that there's all these chemicals and stuff like that, he's doing a disservice to the community, because you can see for yourself.
And I'm one of those people, Joshua, that I don't trust my government just because they provide us with a piece of paper. That doesn't mean that I'm going to listen to them, unfortunately. But the I don't want to say the studies, but the proof, the rice is in the pudding, essentially, because what have we seen? We have seen that this area, you posted that there was a 17% increase in cancer rates across Cameron County. Now, again, there are many factors which can contribute to this.
Sure.
One major factor is our diet. We don't live a healthy lifestyle, and the diets, the foods that we consume is not beneficial to our body. But once we start seeing reports such as yourselves and other people that are testing the water, it's very telling. It's important for us to really make us think about this. It is a big issue, because at the end of the day, it's ultimately affecting our quality of life.
For sure. I think one of the problems is that this conversation or this issue pops up it's been going on since the 90s, right? High pollution since the 1930s, because that's when they started pushing out the insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, all that stuff into the land. But the problem is, this has been a huge problem for the past 35 years, since the 90s. And people talk about it, and then it kind of goes away. And then people talk about it, and then it kind of goes away. And people talk about it, and it goes away. The problem is that the rates of cancer are starting to increase higher and higher, and you see the trend is starting to go up. So the problem is that the Rio Grande Valley is supposed to double in population by 2040 to 2045. And a lot of people say, well, it's correlation, causation. The problem is that if we have double the population, there's going to be double the amount of sick people if we don't get something done. And people always push back that just because it's going to double in population, that doesn't mean that the cancer rates are going to double or the sicknesses are going to double. But if you see the trend line, it 100% is going to double, because if we don't have these issues fixed with the infrastructure or the water, people simply do not know. Like, I got scoffed at the other day, which I could assume it was somebody from the water board or from somebody from the city, because I went to a flooding event, and I was kind of talking about the issues that are going on here in the Rio Grande Valley. And the guy stood up at the end, and he kind of scoffed at me and said, well, everybody knows that there's arsenic in the water. That's not true, because I didn't know there was arsenic in the water till like 5 months ago. And I would say I'm relatively plugged into the system. I do research. So if I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know. And judging just by my comments that I got on social media, a lot of people still drink the tap water. A lot of people still cook with the tap water. And that's just one thing. You're talking about the problem with where McAllen and the surrounding cities were ranked #1 most obese in the nation. And we have huge rates of diabetes here in the Rio Grande Valley. The problem with that is that we already have a weakened immune system from the environmental toxins that are here. So now we're disadvantaged again. So not only do we have high rates of diabetes, high rates of cancer, high rates of respiratory illnesses, high rates of asthma in children, specifically in Cameron County. Now you're talking about an area that you grew up in that has environmental toxins that have already weakened your immune system. So now you're more susceptible to getting the illness down the line. And I'm about to share a startling statistic that specific for Cameron County, because in 2023, this is new data from RGV Health Connect. Anybody that's listening, go to rgvhealthconnect.org, and you can find all this information. In 2023, in Cameron County, there were 32,000 pounds of carcinogens released into the air. Now, think about that for a second. This has been going on since 2013. So over the course of 2013 to 2023, there's been 288,000 pounds of carcinogens pumped into the air. In 2023 alone, there was 32,000 pounds of carcinogens pumped into the air. Did you know that?
I was not aware. No.
No, ask your viewers, anybody that's listening right now, did you know that statistic? Because this is startling. There's 32,000 pounds of carcinogens that have been pumped into the air, released into the air. And in Hidalgo County, if you see the level, like the bar graph, like Hidalgo is right here and Cameron County is like up here. So I don't want to say this, but I think at some point there's higher rates of asthma over there that affect children. 32,000 pounds of carcinogens released into the air in 2023. That trend is going up. I don't know what's going to happen. It feels like something's being released there that's causing a lot of problems for the residents, and they don't even know.
And that's the scary thing. You know, if I could go back momentarily, you were talking about alkaline water. I honestly didn't even know what the heck alkaline water was until JFK came on to President Trump's administration, and then I saw videos of him dropping blue drops into his water, and he was drinking it, and people were saying, "Oh, you know, this is something that he's been talking about for the longest time. You know, you can even purchase this." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then somebody educated me, and they said, "You know what? It's all about the water quality, the fluoride and other chemicals." He's like, "You think that what you're drinking, what comes out of your tap is healthy?" And I said, "Well, you know, I grew up, you know, in the hood where we drank water from La Manguera. Like, you know, we would run around, and then before we go home, we would literally drink water from the Manguera." And we joke about this because we say, "Oh, the reason why, you know, I don't get sick is because I drank that damn water."
Well, that's the reason why you get sick.
Exactly. Maybe that's the reason why we're having complications all this time. But it's interesting, whenever we do research, whenever we really start getting in front of the data, it doesn't look good. It's actually very scary.
Yeah, it's startling because like the rgvhealthconnect.org, that's an invaluable tool for data collection here in the Rio Grande Valley, because it shows you the cancer incidence rates. It shows you the mortality rates of children here in the Rio Grande Valley. It shows how many toxins are released. It shows the forever chemicals here in the Rio Grande Valley. It's just a valuable tool because for most people, they don't have the time to look through 56 pages of documents. They don't have time to look through 26 pages of theses or reports or government reports. And at one point I was like, well, I don't want to look through all this stuff, man. Like, it's kind of heartbreaking because it never stops. But the problem is that people just don't know how to read these reports or put it in a way where regular people like myself can understand it. So when I post stuff on social media, I'm distilling 56 pages of these documents because it's the way I understand stuff. I understand stuff in bullet points and very easy reading material, because if you were to leave it to 56 pages of documents, nobody's going to read that. It's only for doctors and people that are in chemical engineers and all this stuff that understand these reports. So when you're able to distill that information down in a way that I can understand, it becomes very valuable for the community, because otherwise nobody would know anything.
And I think it's very important. I learned from an early age that if ever we give a presentation, if ever we're trying to educate our community, it's always best to give it to them in plain English or, you know, whatever language, but to dumb it down. What service can we provide them if we're talking so eloquently or giving all these crazy information if it doesn't register into their mind? That's why I'm glad that you brought this up, because people say, Frankie, what, you know, there's so much to talk about. Why are you only focusing on I'm like, well, that's the important issues. This is what we're supposed to focus on. And that's what I try to do whenever I come on. You know, I try to give people the information as if we were 5-year-olds. Like, I want the bullet points to really stick. Yes, you know, there might be a lot of gibberish out there, but what's important? Let's get down to the nitty gritty, to the meats and bones. And I think that's very important because, again, us that aren't educated, that aren't experts in that field, we don't know the lingo, you know, we don't know the terminologies. But once we start breaking it down, it's a lot easier for us to understand, what the message is.
For sure. So, like, kind of let me give you an overview before we finish off here, because I think the overview of the entire problem here in the Rio Grande Valley kind of stems from certain things. So, if you're talking about, we have three of the biggest Superfund sites here in the Rio Grande Valley. So, if a lot of people don't understand what a Superfund site is, it's areas in the Rio Grande Valley that are so toxic that the government has to come in and label them as a Superfund site. So we have three of them in the Rio Grande Valley. We have the Rio Grande Valley, which is known to be highly toxic. We have the Arroyo Colorado, which is known to be highly toxic and contaminated. We have the tap water from across the Rio Grande Valley that, in my opinion, is undrinkable. If you guys want to drink it yourselves. You're grown adults. You can do what you want. And then you're talking about the 1944 treaty where Mexico owes us, I think, 1.7 million gallons or acre feet of water. The problem with that is when they release this water to the Rio Grande Valley, it's coming from 6 highly polluted river systems in Mexico. And now they're supposed to treat it, but who knows if they treat it or not. So it's a lot of water coming in, which is a problem too, because we desperately need that water. The farmers need the water here in the Rio Grande Valley because we're going through a huge drought. The other problem is now we have SpaceX here, which is very new. So also the problem with the rockets is that they throw out a lot of pollution too. So that's going to be seen within the next few years. I think it's too early to be able to see any of those results come in. And now you're talking about the LNG plants that are also coming to South Padre Island. Like, that's another issue. So the problem here is that we're being bombarded by many environmental toxins kind of all at once. So the problem here is, like, what do we do? Like, I'm good at getting information out, but people keep asking me, well, how do you fix this? I don't know. Like, that's why it's important to have these conversations like you and I, because you reach a certain audience and I reach a certain audience, for people to start having these conversations about how we fix it, because I can't fix it. I'm just a social media head who even knows if I'm real. Like, I could be fake right now. He could be talking to a fake person. The problem is we need the politicians to be talking about these issues, because they're the only ones that can move this problem to a cleaner solution. So it's not going to be me. It's not going to be you. It has to have some political backing towards it, because the people that are in power, the politicos, they're the ones that can put the new infrastructure in. They're the ones that can pass bills, and all these things, because something needs to be done today. And when I say today, I mean in the next 5 years. Like, because if you start today, you're going to start seeing progress in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It's no longer about us. It's about our children and our children's children, because, like I said, in 2040, the population of the Rio Grande Valley is going to double. Do you want your children to be having the same problems that we're facing today at a higher rate? I would say no.
Again, we focus on issues that are important, and the reason why we have these podcasts daily is because we do want to make waves, Joshua. We do want to get the attention, which we have, unfortunately, of our city leaders, because ultimately we can scream and shout, but if they don't move, if they don't do anything about it, ultimately nothing will get done. Do you want to talk about the documentary in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, sure. So the documentary I have right now is called Before We Drowned. It just won an award from New Jersey Film Awards. So right there you can see I'm having the next screening here at Common Space in McAllen. And if anybody wants to join, I only got 100 seats, and I think about 30 of them have already been taken. So it's very limited seating. It's going to start at 7 p.m. You can see there that we won the Best Feature Award for the New Jersey Film Awards. It's been the official selection for Los Angeles Film Awards. It's been an official selection for the New York Movie Awards. This documentary specifically talks about the next Hurricane Beulah that is overdue. So in 1967, Hurricane Beulah ravaged the Rio Grande Valley. We're overdue for another Hurricane Beulah. So it's a matter of time until it comes. And this documentary explores the next Hurricane Beulah that's overdue, but it also explores what happens after the flooding. So like the things we were talking about, when the Arroyo Colorado is inundated with water, it overflows and it pushes all these chemicals into the Rio Grande Valley, and they go into homes, businesses, schools across the Rio Grande Valley. And it shows how the correlation between the Arroyo Colorado and the floodwaters goes to higher rates of cancer, respiratory illnesses, disease, asthma, and stuff like that. So it's a very interesting documentary, an eye-opening documentary.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you are interested in attending in McAllen this Monday at 7 p.m. Before We Drown, will premiere to a selected audience. So be sure to reach out. Joshua, how can people reach out to you, or how can they find you on social media?
Just find me on Joshua Moroles on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, or even on YouTube. I like YouTube because I can send video content with just a link, so it's harder to find certain things on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. But with YouTube, you can follow me on there. You can see all the information I'm putting out. Right now, I'm covering the story in McAllen about a huge crisis with the cats. There were over 32 cats that were found dead in just a few days. And I don't know if you know this, but I ran across a study that showed that there are about one cat or one animal here in Hidalgo County for every 2 people here that live here. So it's a huge problem. And the problem is that a lot of people are for the ethical treatment of animals until they start overpopulating, messing up their cars, pooping and peeing everywhere. So it's going to be an interesting story to follow. But that's just a side story. I'm just doing that for my pure entertainment. The water issue is my main goal, because without clean water, we're going to have problems for the rest of our life, and it leads to a lot of other problems.
So there possibly is a serial cat killer?
Possibly. From my sources, there's somebody that is saying that they're killing the cats because they're a nuisance. I cannot confirm or deny, but I'm not an expert.
Interesting. Again, Joshua Moroles out of Hidalgo County. Joshua, maybe we can make this a once a month thing, or whenever you feel the need to come on. I promise you I won't keep you hanging for 2 months moving forward. I promise you I'll give you priority. It's just that, man, once I started rolling with BISD in the city, and man, it was, I was busy during the summer. But again, if there's ever anything that you want to focus on, talk about, our platform is your platform. We're just one message away.
Awesome. I appreciate that, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you haven't already, make sure you look for Joshua Moroles on social media. A great individual who focuses on important issues, just like Good Morning Brownsville, that are important to each and every one of us. Right now being the water. He firsthand has showed us how it's not just Brownsville, but it's the Rio Grande Valley that is having issues with contaminated water. What can be done? We need to be screaming and shouting. We need to get the attention of PUB, of city leaders, our county leaders as well. Hopefully one day down the road, we will get this issue resolved. But the sooner we get it done, the better. Joshua Moroles, thank you so much for your time, sir.
See you soon.